You're not losing power. You're losing the systems that keep Americans alive. Heat, water pressure, groceries, fuel pumps, and emergency response, all at the same time. And it can happen in a single click at 2 a.m. The U.S. Energy Information Administration says the average customer had about 11 hours of electricity interruptions in 2024, nearly double the annual average of the prior decade, and major events drove about 80% of those outage hours. Meanwhile, the CDC warns that unintentional carbon monoxide poisoning kills 400+ Americans a year, with spikes during outages when people run fixes that silently poison their own homes. So if a winter blackout hits your area tonight, this isn't a comfort test. It's a survival sorting event. Most people will improvise. You're going to execute. 12. Your cold chain rule: turn your house into a giant thermos before your food turns into a weapon. Listen, most Americans think a winter blackout is a lights and heat problem. Wrong. It's a cold chain problem first, because the moment your power dies, your food becomes a countdown timer. And if you don't understand the science of temperature drift, you'll either waste perfectly good calories, or you'll poison your family with the confident smile of someone reheating danger. Here's the non-obvious truth. Your fridge isn't a magic box. It's a thin, insulated cabinet that stays safe only because the compressor keeps cycling. When it stops, your job is to stop heat from entering and stop warm air from replacing cold air. That means seal, segment, and schedule. First, you stop checking the fridge like it's going to heal itself. Every door open is a warm air injection. Second, you create zones: freezer, long-term cold bank, fridge, short-term triage, room temp, shelf-stable only. Third, you run a written schedule: 2 open windows per day, tops, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, so you're not bleeding cold constantly. Now the survival move most people never do: build thermal mass while you still have cold. If you have power warnings or even just severe wind and ice forecasts, freeze all empty space. Fill containers or zipper bags with water and pack your freezer like it's a shipping crate. More frozen mass means slower thaw, which buys you time. If the blackout already happened, you still use the outside winter air strategically. If it's below freezing, you can stage certain items in a secured outdoor cooler, but you must prevent wildlife access and temperature swings from sun exposure. And here's the dirty secret. In winter blackouts, people overfocus on staying warm and forget that food meaningfully affects morale and body temperature. Warm meals can raise perceived warmth and reduce stress. So you plan power-free hot meals that use minimal fuel and minimal water, like high-calorie soups thickened with rice, instant oats with peanut butter, or lentils that cook faster than dry beans. Remember, weather drives the majority of major outages in the U.S., and those outages are becoming a routine feature, not a once-in-a-lifetime event. 11. Your fuel rule: you don't have a generator. You have a fuel budget, and it's smaller than you think. Most Americans who buy a generator are basically buying a false sense of immortality. Because the generator isn't the system, the fuel supply is the system. And fuel is the first thing that gets weird in a winter blackout. Card readers go down, fuel pumps can't run, supply trucks can't move on ice, and suddenly, "I'll just grab more gas" becomes a fantasy. This isn't paranoia. This is how modern infrastructure behaves when electricity gets shaky. In 2024, U.S. customers averaged about 11 hours of electricity interruptions, and major events drove most of it. That's the average. In a real winter ice-wind scenario, you're not budgeting for a cute little outage. You're budgeting for a multi-day normal life shutdown. So here's the rule. Your generator only powers missions, not your lifestyle. Your missions are: keep one heat source alive, if possible, keep critical medical gear charged, keep the fridge, freezer cold in short pulses, and maintain communications. That means you run it like a hybrid vehicle. 30-60 minutes on, hours off. You charge battery banks, warm the space, boil water, then shut it down. Why? Because your true enemy is not darkness. It's fuel panic. And fuel panic makes people do stupid things, like running a generator continuously just in case, draining their supply in 24 hours, and turning day 2 into a survival nightmare. Now the part nobody tells you: load matters more than generator size. The bigger the load, the faster the burn. A space heater is a fuel guillotine. A microwave is a power spike machine. What you want is to shift the household to low-watt survival tech. LED lanterns, battery blankets, insulated sleeping systems, and a small inverter powering chargers. Not a whole house fantasy. And if you absolutely must use fuel indoors for cooking, you do it with ventilation discipline, because winter makes people seal houses tight, and that turns warm into dead. We'll talk about that next. Also, write this down. If your neighborhood is dark and your generator is roaring all night, you're not prepared. You've just become a sound beacon advertising comfort. Run it strategically, quietly, and with purpose. 10. Your air rule: in winter blackouts, people don't freeze first. They get poisoned first. This is the killer that doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't look like a Hollywood emergency. It looks like a tired family getting sleepy, getting headaches, getting confused, and then not waking up. Carbon monoxide turns winter blackouts into body bag statistics every year because Americans try to heat homes like it's 1890, with modern stupidity layered on top. The CDC calls it out plainly. Never run generators, grills, or fuel-burning devices inside homes, garages, or near openings, and they note CO kills 500-plus Americans every year even outside disaster spikes. Here's what most people don't know. CO poisoning isn't just running a generator in the living room. People die because they run it in a garage with the door cracked, or on a porch near a window, or too close to a soffit vent that feeds right into attic airflow. CO behaves like a silent squatter, seeping, pooling, drifting, especially when a home is sealed up tight for heat. And winter blackouts make that sealing instinct stronger. You hang blankets, tape plastic, block drafts, and accidentally create the perfect trap for a gas you can't smell. So your rule is air discipline. First, CO detectors with battery backup, not "I'll buy one later." Second, placement: sleeping areas and near any combustion risk. Third, distance: generators go far away from the structure, not a little away. Some safety guidance emphasizes significant separation from doors, windows, vents. The point is to treat exhaust like a toxic flood, not a campfire smell. Fourth, symptom protocol: if anyone gets headache, nausea, dizziness, or confusion during a blackout, you do not debate it. You ventilate, you leave the space, you get fresh air immediately, and seek medical evaluation if symptoms persist. CDC clinical guidance is very clear that CO disrupts oxygen delivery and cellular respiration. Heart and brain are high-risk targets. And if you need one more punch of reality, federal and safety agencies have documented CO hazards in real disaster aftermaths because people keep repeating the same deadly mistakes. Winter blackout survival isn't just stay warm, it's stay breathing. 9. Your money rule: assume the payment system will fail before the utility trucks arrive. Here's the part that blindsides Americans because we're trained to believe money lives inside our phones. In a serious winter blackout, the payment system goes brittle fast. Card terminals can't connect. POS systems reboot endlessly. ATMs go dark. And even if a store is open, it may be cash only within hours. And when that happens, people don't just get hungry, they get angry. Because the most shocking feeling in modern America isn't darkness. It's standing inside a store with plenty of food on shelves and realizing you can't buy any of it. So the rule is, you maintain a blackout cash layer and a trade layer. Cash layer means small bills, ones, fives, tens, because no one can make change when the drawer systems are dead. Trade layer means items people will want when fear spikes. Batteries, lighters, water purification tabs, basic meds, baby supplies, hygiene items, not because you're trying to cosplay as a warlord, because scarcity creates microeconomies instantly. And this connects to something else most people miss. The grid doesn't just fail as one. Outages can be regional, rolling, or uneven. In 2024, major events drove a big share of outage hours and disruption, meaning you might be blacked out while another part of your city is lit. And that creates traffic chaos, gas runs, and everybody drives to the working area insanity. The moment people start migrating for supplies, the shelves don't empty gradually. they empty violently. Your goal isn't to be the fastest shopper. It's to be the person who doesn't need the store when everyone else does. So you keep a written, blackout spending plan, just like a food plan. What you will buy if anything is available: water, fuel, meds. What you will not buy: junk that burns cash, and what your hard stop is. And you protect your identity too, because outages create a goldmine for scams, fake cleanup crews, and emergency assistance fraud. In a blackout, the most valuable resource isn't even your money. It's your ability to transact when systems collapse. And cash is the key that still works when the touchscreen world goes dead. 8. Your neighborhood rule. Build a microgrid of people. Because solo survival in America is a fairy tale. The lone wolf prepper fantasy gets Americans hurt. In a winter blackout, the real winners aren't just stalked, they're networked. Because a blackout isn't one problem. It's dozens. Heating, water, meds, childcare, elderly neighbors, security, information. One household can't be world-class at all of it. But a block can. So rule number 8 is, create a microgrid of people before the storm hits, so you're not negotiating with strangers in the dark. Your microgrid has 3 roles: the information node, someone with radio capability, weather alerts, and battery power; the heat node, maybe the house with a safe fireplace or the best insulation; and the medical node, someone with training or the best kit. You're not merging families into a commune. You're creating mutual support lanes. Because in real winter grid stress events, official reports have shown how extreme cold drives massive operational strain and outages can spread across huge regions, leaving emergency services overextended. Now here's the shocking part most people don't want to hear. The first danger from neighbors isn't violence, it's desperation plus bad decisions. Someone runs a grill indoors. Someone tries to warm a car in a garage. Someone burns trash in a fireplace not designed for it. That's how a whole street ends up with CO exposure, house fires, and ER overload. Your microgrid reduces that risk by spreading correct protocols early, fast. CDC and safety guidance exists for a reason, and in blackouts, your responsibility isn't just your house. It's preventing the dumb mistake next door from becoming your emergency too. So you set 2 check-in times per day, you share status without bragging about supplies, and you establish a help threshold so you're not guilt-tripped into draining your own survival. The objective is stability. Fewer panicked 911 calls, fewer dangerous heating attempts, fewer people wandering around in ice looking for chargers. America doesn't collapse because nobody cared. It collapses because nobody coordinated. Rule number 8 is how you keep your neighborhood from turning into a cold, dark, chaotic pressure cooker. 7. Your pipe rule. In a winter blackout, your house tries to flood itself. Stop it before it bankrupts you. You're worried about staying warm. Totally fair. But here's the nasty surprise a lot of Americans learn the hard way. In a prolonged winter blackout, your home can turn into a self-destructing water bomb, not from outside, from inside. Because when heat stops, water in vulnerable pipes starts dropping toward freezing, and the physics is brutal. Frozen water expands, pipes rupture, and then, when things finally thaw, your house can dump gallons per minute into walls, floors, insulation, electrical outlets, and that's when a blackout turns into, we might have to move out. People assume burst pipes are a rare problem. They're not. They're a predictable problem when the temperature stays low long enough and interior spaces lose heat. So rule number 7 is simple. Protect the plumbing like it's life support. Start with the obvious weak points. Pipes on exterior walls, uninsulated crawl spaces, garages, basements, under-sink lines on outside walls, and anywhere air leaks are blasting cold into cavities. Your mission is to keep a small amount of warmth moving through those pipes, not to keep the whole house cozy. If you have any heat source at all, wood stove, safe indoor rated heater, generator bursts, use it strategically. Warm the plumbing zones, and then retreat back to your warm room system. And do not underestimate tiny actions. Opening cabinet doors under sinks can let warmer room air reach the pipes. Blocking drafts near plumbing chases can raise temperatures enough to prevent freezing. Here's the move most people don't do. Know how to shut off your water main before you need it. Because if a pipe bursts during a blackout, you don't want to be Googling, "How do I turn off water with 3% phone battery?" Find the shutoff now. Keep the tool you need right there. If you suspect freezing risk is rising and you can't maintain safe temps, shutting the water off proactively can prevent catastrophic flooding when the thaw hits. And remember, winter safety guidance isn't just about warmth. It's also about reducing hazards that cascade during outages, when emergency response is overloaded and repairs are delayed. 6. Your sleep rule. Treat nighttime like a medical event. Because hypothermia starts when people just get tired. Let me give you the scariest truth in winter blackout survival. People don't always lose to cold while they're panicking. They lose quietly while they're sleeping, because they underestimate how fast the human body sheds heat at night. Hypothermia isn't a movie villain, it's a slow downgrade. You get clumsy, you get confused, you get weirdly calm. And if you're elderly, very young, exhausted, wet, underfed, or dealing with certain medical conditions, the margin gets thin fast. Both NOAA and the CDC emphasize hypothermia as a dangerous condition, with classic red flag guidance that once core temperature drops too low, it becomes a medical emergency. NOAA even uses the 95 degrees Celsius, 35 degrees Celsius threshold as the line where it's officially hypothermia. So rule number 6 is you build a sleep system, not a bedtime routine. Your house is no longer home. It's a winter survival environment. That means you stop sleeping spread out across bedrooms like it's a normal Tuesday night. You consolidate into the smallest safe room, you cut drafts, and you make heat retention the priority. And no, this isn't just wear a hoodie. The real survival stack is dry base layer, insulating mid-layer, wind-blocking outer layer if needed, then a real sleeping setup that traps air. If you have sleeping bags, use them correctly. Don't compress the insulation with tight layers. If you don't, make a layered nest. Blankets underneath you, because the floor steals heat. Blankets around you, and a barrier against drafts. The less-known trick, your body loses tons of heat through contact surfaces. So plastic tarp plus blanket is often warmer than blankets only because the tarp blocks convective drafts. And here's the psychological landmine. People go to sleep underfueled. Calories are heat. A warm, dense snack before bed, peanut butter oat soup, can literally improve thermal resilience overnight. This is exactly why cold weather guidance emphasizes preparation and recognizing danger signs early. The "I'm fine" feeling can be part of the problem. You don't wait until you're shivering uncontrollably. You treat nighttime as the riskiest stretch and run it like a plan. 5. Your fire rule. In a blackout, the number one cozy choice can burn your house down. If you've ever seen a winter blackout neighborhood after dark, you know what happens. Candles everywhere, improvised heaters, people dragging out old fireplaces they haven't used in years, cranking anything that produces warmth, and suddenly you've got a second emergency stacked on top of the first. Fire. The blackout doesn't cause fires. It causes human beings to make rushed, exhausted, improvised decisions with open flame in tight spaces. And federal safety guidance is blunt about this. Use safer lighting when possible. Don't leave candles unattended, and don't improvise heating in ways that create fire and burn risk. The EPA specifically calls out that battery-powered flashlights or lanterns are preferable to candles because candles can lead to house fires. So rule number 5 is you standardize heat and light sources before you need them, and you ban the sketchy stuff when the crisis hits. That means lanterns over candles whenever possible. If candles exist, they're last resort, stabilized, away from curtains, and never left alone. Ever. For heating, you do not get creative. Ready.gov explicitly warns against heating your home with a gas stovetop or oven. And it's not just KO, it's fire, burns, and appliance damage. Here's what most people don't know. Blackout fires often start from the secondary mistake. People fall asleep with a heat source running, or they overload circuits when power flickers back. So you also run a re-energize protocol. When electricity returns, you don't let everything slam on at once. You turn off or unplug high-draw devices and bring systems back in a controlled way. Because when the grid comes back unstable, power surges, and cycling can damage electronics and start problems you can't fix during an outage. Think of rule number 5 as this. A winter blackout already stresses emergency services. You don't want to become the reason the whole street has flashing lights because you turned survival into a structure fire. 4. Your medical device rule. The people who die, first, aren't unprepared, they're electrically dependent. This is where winter blackouts get genuinely terrifying in modern America. The most vulnerable households aren't the ones who forgot candles. It's the ones who rely on electricity for medical survival. Oxygen concentrators, CPAP machines, refrigerated meds, nebulizers, mobility equipment chargers. And here's the part nobody wants to admit. In a widespread outage, you can't assume immediate help, and you can't assume your pharmacy or clinic can fix it fast. Ready.gov is very direct about this. Talk to your medical provider about a power outage plan for medical devices powered by electricity and refrigerated medicines, and get specific guidance for how long critical medications can be stored at higher temperatures. So rule number 4 is, your medical plan must be power agnostic. Step 1 is identification. Make a written list of every device and medication that becomes risky when the grid dies, including charging requirements and storage temps. Step 2 is redundancy. Battery backups, vehicle charging options, and a charging schedule that doesn't waste fuel. Step 3 is temperature strategy. If meds need refrigeration, you plan the cold chain like a mission: cooler, ice rotation, insulation, and minimal opening. Step 4 is escalation. If someone's device cannot be supported at home, you pre-identify where you can go: family, shelter options, or facilities with robust backup systems. And here's what's most people don't know level important. The biggest danger is waiting too long because you feel awkward asking for help. People try to tough it out until symptoms spike, and then travel becomes dangerous. Ice roads, dead stoplights, limited EMS response. Rule number 4 says you act early because early action is calm action. Late action is panic action. 3. Your food rule, winter edition. Stop eating like it's normal. Start eating like body heat is a currency. Here's where winter blackouts get savage, fast. You can't just have food. You need the right kind of food, eaten the right way, at the right times, to keep your body generating heat and your brain making good decisions. Because when the power dies, your house starts bleeding warmth, your stress hormones spike, and your calorie burn quietly climbs. And the average American pantry is a comedy of errors for this situation. Tons of snacks, not enough dense, stable, heat-producing fuel. So rule number 3 is, you switch to blackout nutrition immediately: calories, salt, heat, and simplicity. First, the science-backed reality you need burned into your brain. Cold exposure increases energy demand, and panic makes people undereat or eat the wrong things. You don't want light meals. You want calorie density and warm fluids. That means peanut butter, nuts, oats, rice, pasta, canned chili, canned stew, lentils, and instant soups. You also need salt and electrolytes because dehydration hits in winter too. Your lungs lose moisture in cold air, and people don't feel thirsty while they're drying out. Now layer in the blackout detail most people never plan for. Food safety. A dead fridge becomes a liability fast. CDC guidance is crystal clear. If doors stay closed, food stays safe about 4 hours in a refrigerator, 48 hours in a full freezer, 24 hours in a half-full freezer. After that, you're gambling with food poisoning at the exact moment hospitals are strained and roads can be ice-choked. So you do blackout food triage with a written list. Eat first: leftovers, dairy, opened meats. Cook and convert: raw meat turned into stew you eat now. And do not touch anything questionable over temp. If you hit the 4-hour mark and you've got ice, you move critical perishables to a cooler and keep them at 40 degrees Celsius or below. That number matters. And here's the advanced move. You stop wasting fuel on elaborate cooking. You do one-pot meals that produce heat, hydration, and calories at once: soups, porridges, rice and beans. because every ounce of fuel saved today is survival flexibility tomorrow. Rule number 3 is how you prevent the dumbest winter blackout deaths: eating spoiled food, getting dehydrated, and losing heat production because you treated calories like comfort instead of life support. 2. Your generator rule: outside isn't a distance, it's a safety perimeter, and CO will still find you. Most people think they're smart because they put the generator outside. Congratulations, you've completed the first 10% of the assignment. The other 90% is not dying from carbon monoxide while you're proudly telling your family you did it safely. Because CO doesn't care about your intentions. It cares about airflow, pressure, vents, cracks, soffits, open doors, and the way winter homes are sealed up like Tupperware. The CDC warns plainly: never use generators or grills and fuel-burning devices inside your home, garage, or carport, or near doors, windows, or vents, and note CO kills more than 500 Americans each year. Here's the winter blackout killer detail. In cold weather, people block drafts and close everything up, which makes it easier for CO to accumulate if exhaust is anywhere near the structure. Even generator manufacturers warn that exhaust can enter through obvious openings and also through smaller, less obvious pathways, meaning meeting minimum guidance doesn't guarantee safety if the house itself pulls in air. So rule number 2 is: you establish a hard perimeter, you monitor, and you don't get complacent. You set the generator far from the home, with exhaust pointed away, and you treat wind direction like it matters, because it does. You keep battery-backed CO alarms inside, especially near sleeping areas. You run the generator in bursts, mission-based, so it's not bathing your house in hours of exhaust. And you run a symptom protocol like a professional. Headache, nausea, dizziness, confusion, the whole family feels weird at once. That's not stress. That's a CO red alert. And CDC clinical guidance emphasizes quick recognition and testing because multiple people with similar complaints is a classic clue. And if you want the truly scary part, federal safety reporting has repeatedly documented CO poisoning hazards linked to generators during disaster aftermaths, meaning this is a recurring pattern, not a rare fluke. Rule number 2 is how you keep your backup power from becoming your family's most lethal appliance. 1. Your first 30 minutes rule. Treat a winter blackout like a siege, because most outages don't end fast, they escalate. This is the rule that separates annoyed from alive. The first 30 minutes after the lights die is when you decide whether your household becomes organized or becomes reactive prey. Because winter outages don't politely stay small. They cascade. Roads freeze, trees snap lines, repair crews get delayed, and suddenly your county is competing with 3 other counties for hardware and manpower. That's not doom talk. That's how extreme weather stress behaves in the real world, and large winter storms have knocked out power for hundreds of thousands of U.S. customers in recent years. So rule number 1 is a command sequence. No debating, no wandering around. You execute, confirm scope, lock your environment, secure heat, secure water, secure information. You do a 60-second scope check. Is it just your house, your street, or wider? Then you go into siege mode. Doors locked, blinds closed, lighting controlled, and your warm room plan activated. Your job is to prevent mistakes, falls, fires, CO exposure, food poisoning. Because injuries during outages are stupidly common and services get overloaded. Next, you immediately protect your perishables with the CDC clock in your head. Fridge safe about 4 hours unopened, freezer 48 full, 24 half. Knowing those numbers stops you from making the classic mistake, constantly opening the fridge to see. Then you establish an info stream that doesn't depend on the internet, local radio, weather alerts, and official updates, because in outages, misinformation spreads faster than restoration. And here's the strategic truth most Americans don't think about. Reliability metrics hide the danger because averages don't describe major events. The EIA has shown how major events can significantly move outage duration and frequency beyond typical conditions. Translation: your blackout might not follow the normal script at all. Rule number 1 is you acting like it won't. so you don't get caught waiting for a miracle while the situation deteriorates.